Saturday on Beyond the Vibe, I'm joined by Nathan James of Inglorious and the newly formed supergroup 𝐬𝐿.
There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. The world is getting crazy.
The first time I met Michael, Inglorious were playing on the Monsters of Rock cruise. Towards the end of the interview, Michael actually was walking through the atrium, leant over the balcony and shouted down and said, "This is the best singer on the whole ship."
Wow.
And I was just speechless. I was drunk as well, so we were all... And the whole thing was just crazy. Tommy's 70 years old.
I mean, that's just ridiculous, isn't it, to be at that level? You know.
So he's still touring the world, kicking ass on drums. And he's a lovely guy, you know, super respectful. On these shoots as well, he didn't even have like a drum tech with him. So he got there like 2 hours early to set up his own kit. And I walked into the studio and Tommy's there setting up his own kit, and I was like, this guy is a legend.
You'll notice I have fancy cameras now. Ta-da! Yeah.
Wow.
Multicam.
Oh, that's amazing. I need that.
I was going to say, if we get it's like a switcher that I'm using. So if you have a switcher at your end, you could do multi-camera shots in your house.
That's so clever.
So I've got that market.
See, I don't even record my own vocal demos like in a microphone. I'm useless. I have no focus right anything.
The key is delegation. That's what you're doing. You're delegating to those.
I know that is not one of my skills. So I'm not going to try and learn.
But that's the strength, knowing your weaknesses.
Yeah, and I suck at that. So,
so I'm here once again with Nathan James. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak with me once again.
No problem. Looking forward to it.
Yes. Of course, you've been, as we were speaking about just before then, you've been very busy since we last spoke. Of course, you're now part of the supergroup 𝐬𝐿. I remember that first single being released, Nowhere to Run, when it came out. And I was a bit surprised by it because I was like, where's this come from? You know what I mean? Like, and then it's like, bang, there's an album coming out as well. It's not just a single. So like, how did that all come about? Because it kind of felt like it came out of nowhere, you know?
It was actually going on for quite a long time. So I think just before the pandemic, we started talking about it. And originally the idea was the record label wanted to put me with Michael Sweet to do an album. We didn't know what it was going to be, but it eventually just kept growing and growing into this band. And then they were like, well, who would you like to be involved? And I kind of said, oh, it'd be amazing if we could get Marco Mendoza on bass. And by this point, Joel had already joined. I worked with Joel in Trans-Siberian Orchestra, so a big fan, know him. He also co-wrote, I don't know if you know, there's a couple of Inglorious songs, so he wrote Medusa on the We Will Ride album with me and Phil, and he co-wrote a song called You're Mine on our first album. So, yeah, big fan of Joel, big fan of Marco, and then when they told me that Tommy was going to be on it, I couldn't believe it. Like, if I was to pick one, you know, it would be him. Like, he's the GOAT.
I know, right? When I saw the video, because I knew nothing about it till the video.
Oh, cool.
So I pressed I thought, oh, you know, you've got a new thing out. This will be interesting. I press it. And then, you know, I'm looking around. I see Michael Sweet. I see, you know, Tommy Aldridge at the back. I'm like, what is going on, Nathan? Like, what have you been doing?
It was mad. And it was also, I haven't tried to be cool for any of this. Like,
no, it's cool.
I am a big fan of all of them, right? So that day and those couple of days that we were in LA shooting those videos was just so surreal. Like walking onto a set with them, and they've all been just there, dressed up, ready to rock, and like the whole day, couple of days was mad. And then hanging out with them, having dinner with Tommy and Michael Sweet the night after the first videos, and then just hearing his stories. And I went to the Rainbow and got absolutely rat-assed before the next day. It was an amazing experience, and I felt like I was like really living the like LA fantasy, and to be doing it with those guys is just unbelievable. I wouldn't have taken any time away from Inglorious unless it was something unbelievably special, and that group of men and that album was really, really special.
Because that was something that kind of first struck me, because I'm, seeing this new project, I was like, well, obviously Inglorious is your baby, so this must be a big thing if you're going to go and do this other thing as well, Yeah, and I've been asked to do things before, I've been asked to do other groups and join other groups, or sing vocals on people's albums that can't sing high notes anymore. Wish I'd get in a lot of trouble if I told you that was, but like there's lots of things. I've been asked to do a lot of things, but it's not the things you say yes to, it's the things you say no to. So sometimes something comes along that you cannot say no to, right? Yeah.
And this would have, I know it was going to be amazing and incredible for me to work with my heroes, such an incredible experience. I absolutely loved it, and people seem to really be digging the album as well, which is cool.
Yes, of course, speaking of that, Second Skin, which is obviously out now, when you kind of began that recording process, what was that kind of dynamic like, and like how did you personally approach the album? Because obviously it's very different to going in with Inglorious, kind of you have the full control with Inglorious. It's a bit of a different dynamic.
It's a weird one. So obviously with Inglorious we all write, the whole band writes, but I take care of lyrics, melody, pretty much most of that. So with this, the songs were kind of written before I got to them, apart from two. So they sent me the demos with the producer singing on them, and I was like, yeah, this is absolutely fine, I'm going to be able to do this. And then they sent me two songs without any vocal or any melody, just two backing tracks, and said, we want you to write these two. And I was a bit apprehensive at first, because I'm so comfortable in writing with my band the way that we have done since the beginning, since where they and us come up with a riff, come up with a song idea, and then I go away on my own and then write the lyrics. So I'm usually involved from day one, whereas this time I was just handed something and said, can you make that into a song, which was really kind of strange. So the songs that I wrote are the final track on the album, which is Enough for Your Love, which is a really bluesy shuffle, like proper early White Snake vibe that I love. And the second one I wrote was All I Need, which ended up being the third single. And I remember hearing it and just thinking, it's like, it needs to be an epic, and I hate saying the word cheesy, but it does need to be an epic, cheesy love ballad. And I haven't really written anything like that before. So I kind of tried my hardest to write something that fit the music, and Frontiers liked it so much that they made it a single. So I'm really, really chuffed with that, actually.
Obviously, speaking of those two songs, what's kind of, is there like a meaning behind them? Considering that you wrote them, did you draw from any personal experiences, or is it kind of?
Not so much on All I Need. That's kind of, I'm going to be honest, it's just a bit more vague. And not every song is, do you know what I mean, a sweeping political statement or something like. Sometimes they are just songs to listen to. Enough of Your Love is about being in the company of someone who's like a massive like cokehead, or
okay,
someone who just can't stop talking, basically. And most of us in the industry have been in situations where they've been surrounded by people who just can't stop talking due to the abuse of certain chemicals. So I kind of wrote it about that, kind of from their position as well, and it's about that relationship between, drugs.
That's interesting. One of the other things that really kind of struck me on this album was obviously the dual vocals that you did with Michael Sweet, particularly on those singles as well. What was that? How did that kind of happen? Because I believe, didn't you record the album kind of separately?
Yeah. Logistically, obviously, that's how it had to be. It was we recorded this during the pandemic, and they sent the files over here. Just originally, without Michael's vocals on, they had the producer Alessandro's vocals on, and so I sung the dual stuff with Alessandro originally. So I didn't hear what Michael was doing. So I was kind of like guessing what he'd do, maybe, and I know, obviously, and I'm a fan of his voice, I know kind of what he would kind of do. So I tried to fill in the gaps, and then I didn't actually hear his versions till it was back with mine all mixed and finished, and I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like, I just couldn't believe how good we sound together, in that our voices are so different. He has such an incredible, high, powerful, meaty upper register, and mine is kind of a bit more on this album, richer and grittier, and I think it really complements each other. We're not in the same space at all, we're always kind of like doing this, and I think that definitely helps. I think when you get two singers with big voices on an album, it can be an absolute nightmare, but I don't think that's the case with this. I think it's actually really tasteful, and we're singing in the right places. Yeah,
because it's interesting having, I imagine, a guy that's kind of more synonymous with fronting a band be in the band with you.
But he's enjoyed it. I think that's the cool thing for him, is that I think he's enjoying having the pressure off almost a little bit, and getting, he co-produced the whole album, co-wrote the whole album, so he's kind of taken a different spin on it, and I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing. If I could play the guitar and if I could produce and do all that stuff, I'd be doing the same thing, right? You'd want to do a bit of everything. He has no signs of like slowing down, which is incredible.
It's pretty like insane. I mean, it's interesting how you guys, considering you were not even in the same country, you've still had this chemistry, because it does feel like, even though you weren't in the same room, it feels like you were maybe, from an outsider perspective, kind of batting around ideas or something. It's got that kind of flavor of like, maybe it was kind of done in the room. Which is quite unusual, considering obviously you were kind of doing it on the fly.
I think this is me aside, by the way, not including myself in this next statement. Quality. When you have the best musicians and the best quality of writer, producer, etc., performer together, you're only going to get something that's good, right? That is what they live for. They strive for greatness. They are all incredible on their music, on their instruments. They're all great people, and we all have a mutual respect for each other. Because I'm sure I wanted to do this album because I respect them, and they didn't need to do the album, so I'm guessing they thought I was okay as well. Do you know what I mean? So I'm hoping it's like a big mutual respect thing, where we all wanted it to be great, and we all respected each other. We all let each other do our own things, and in the end, we knew that if we all did the best we could, we'd come out with a product that we're all really proud of.
It's when I was kind of looking through things for this interview, I was struck by there was a couple of interviews with Michael where he spoke about, he'd wanted to kind of work with you for a while now, and he'd kind of admired you from afar. And it's like, this is like, from your perspective, I imagine you're probably thinking like, this is pretty mad.
Yeah, so mad. And the first time I met Michael, Inglorious were playing on the Monsters of Rock cruise. And like towards the end of the cruise, they were doing a Q&A with us, with Inglorious, in the like atrium, the center of the ship, and it spreads over like 3 floors. And I think it was Don Jameson was doing ours. So he's doing our interview, telling funny stories and anecdotes about recording, and told a story about Phil shitting his pants going up the Eiffel Tower. Just like ridiculous tour stories that everyone found hilarious. Towards the end of the interview, Michael actually was walking through the atrium, leant over the balcony and shouted down and said, "This is the best singer on the whole ship."
Wow.
And I was just speechless. I was drunk as well, so we were all... And the whole thing was just crazy. I didn't believe it happened. And so from then on, I've always been like, oh my God, that's amazing. He respects me. And yeah, to finally get to do this with him is amazing. Like, what an incredible thing. And music lasts forever, right? So this vinyl lasts forever. I get to keep this, and it's become part of my history and part of my kind of musical legacy. And I'm so thrilled to be able to do it with him. Also, he's like the nicest man. So like the other day, we haven't spoken in a couple of weeks, and he just sent me a text message at like 2 a.m. here, so it's probably the evening over there. Just been like, "Hey man, so I haven't spoken to you in a little while. Just thinking of you, buddy. Hope you're okay. Love from me and Lisa." And you're just like, this is so wild. Like, he just messages me to check I'm okay. Like, he's just such a cool, such a nice guy.
I mean, that's for me is kind of the extra kind of icing on the cake, isn't it? When you're in a band with such talented guys, but they're also very down to earth at the same time still, particularly after all they've done and the careers that they've had. That's kind of the benchmark, isn't it, to be still at that kind of thing,
It's amazing.
I know. Is there looking at the album, is there a particular favourite track for you? Do you have one that you've kind of...
I like songs like Let It Go and Worlds Apart. I think songs where people get to hear me like really emote and show off that cleaner side of my voice, the more like AOR melodic side of my voice that I don't lean into as much now with my own band. So I don't. Inglorious have historically over the years become from a bluesier place to a more hard rock / metal sound. I think that's fair to say. Yeah. So it's quite nice for me to kind of like lean into that like nice, clean vocals, clean riffs, emoting a song, because that's what I love doing. I do love telling a story. I love making people feel things. I love making people cry. Like, it sounds awful, but I love making people feel something. That's what I mean.
Yeah. No, I get it. I can see it now. Like, you're playing to a live crowd, everybody's crying, and you're just like, yes, it's wonderful. Yeah. Oh, that's great, man. Is there kind of, from this whole experience, has there been any kind of maybe a piece of advice or a skill that maybe you've acquired that you'd look to apply to your own work going forward?
It's kind of the same whenever I work with these guys. So 10 years ago, I joined the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. It was 10 years ago this year. It's the same working with that level of musician, the Al Petrellis, the John O'Reillys who played in Rainbow, whoever it may be. The professionalism is through the roof. And that's what I've always expected from my own band and from every band musician that I work with. I expect that same level of professionalism. so yeah, it just, whenever I work with them, it just reaffirms that I'm not. Yeah, sometimes people think I expect too much out of them, and I don't. I just expect what everyone else who we want to be like is giving.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If you want to be a world-class musician or you want to be the best singer on the planet, act like them. Do you know what I mean? Like, to do it properly, hone your craft, practice, be good, and be able to deliver like these guys do, you know. But all these guys are just consummate professionals, and I think that is amazing, especially to have that one. Tommy's 70 years old.
I mean, that's just ridiculous, isn't it, to be at that level? You know,
some days I don't want to like get out of bed. Do you know what I mean? I'm 33. And he's 71 years old or whatever, and is still touring the world, kicking ass on drums. And he's a lovely guy, you know, super respectful. On these shoots as well, he didn't even have like a drum tech with him, so he got there like 2 hours early to set up his own kit. And I walked into the studio, and Tommy's there setting up his own kit, and I was like, this guy is a legend. Like just amazing. It's freaking incredible, like his work ethic. And I like people who want to work. I like people who want to work hard for this, because it is so hard. It is so hard to do. And people have always confused my want to be better or to be successful with whatever it may be, whether it might be the fact that they think I've got a huge ego, or they think I'm a diva or whatever. I just want everything to be the best it can be. Because I noticed that if I go to a show and everyone is killing it, you feel it.
Yeah.
And if you're a team, they feel it. And if you have respect, they feel it. But similarly, they feel it if you're unhappy, and they feel it if you're not working as well together. Do you know what I mean? You want to be constantly putting on the best show you can for the people that are paying money, and the people that are the reason that you get to do this for a living.
Well, I completely agree. And the one thing that really strikes me, I mean, this is something that I always kind of do, like, I think that you naturally push people to reach what you know they're capable of. Like, if you know they're a top draw musician, then I don't see an issue with like pushing them to achieve that.
Yeah.
You know, it's that, you know, I'd, you know, if I wasn't pushed by somebody to reach my full potential, I'd look back and I'd think, you know, maybe I could have done that better or something. You know what I mean? I think it's good to have that.
Yeah. I want to be. I also, something I've realised recently. I'm going a bit off topic here. Sorry.
No, it's cool. We are drifting on a tangent, but we're cool.
I got offered a TV show, like a pilot situation that was going to happen, and blah blah blah. Quite a big television company. And I turned it down because what I think I finally realised at 33 is that I've never wanted to be famous. Like the idea of fame I had 10 years ago when I was on a reality TV show or whatever. I never wanted that bit of it. I just wanted to be a good singer. I genuinely just wanted people to go, that guy's a great singer. You know, and I wanted my heroes to go, that guy's a great singer. And now I'm there. I finally, I'm in a place where Michael's tweet will text me at 2 a.m. and don't I'm okay. You know, I'm in a place where Glenn Hughes will get me up on stage to perform Burn with him, or David Coverdale will shout me out at the O2 Arena. Do you know what I mean? And say,
I mean, that must be the ultimate.
I'm in a place where I feel like I've done it. Do you know what I mean? I've achieved what I wanted. It wasn't ever to be famous. The nonsense of being famous is horrendous. It's awful. So I'm quite happy not to be. I just want to be people to know that I sing, people to enjoy that. If they don't enjoy it, cool. There's no problem. You can't please everyone. But yeah, I love singing. Singing is will always be my favorite thing.
I think that's it reflects that. You see it even in the videos. You look like you're having a good time. You look like you're enjoying yourself, and I think particularly live as well. I think that kind of energy, like if the musicians are enjoying themselves and having a good time, you're kind of on board with that. It's infectious, isn't it? Like if somebody, I don't know, a vocalist is running around or doing whatever he does, it's like you want to go a bit mad as well. Like you kind of vibe off that, don't you?
Absolutely. And that is a confidence thing. The reason why performers can share that with you is because they know that they've practiced long and hard to get good, and I know that when I go for that note, I'm going to hit that note. So if I want to smile or run around or dance about or whatever I'm doing, I can do that as well. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm enjoying it. It's a confidence thing that means that I know that none of my boys are going to mess up ever. Doesn't happen. Never has it happened in any situation have they ever messed up. So I'm like, that's an unbelievable amount of like support you feel when you're in a band like that who they deliver live every single time. And I'm super comfortable on stage because we all know what we're doing. We know our ability, and we still love it. We still absolutely love it.
Of course, speaking of that, of course, Inglorious will be hitting the road with the UK tour starting on the 15th of September. Obviously, you're doing the tour this time around. Are there any kind of wheels in motion for any albums going forward with Inglorious, or any?
We started writing some demos, which is good. I got sent one the other day by Dan and Danny, so that's cool. Me and Danny wrote like 4 or 5 ideas the other day. So there is stuff kicking them out, we are definitely on it. I feel like we want to get this tour out the way first, make sure that we have a good tour, make sure everyone's well still, and then we look at sorting that out for next year. But yeah, it's going to be it's quite exciting. It's an exciting time now. Now we're coming out of...
I was going to say, isn't this the first one since pre-pandemic where it doesn't kind of feel like there's a big pile of restrictions everywhere or something? You can kind of just hit the road now and actually kind of tour without any concern.
We did the We Will Ride album in the height of the first pandemic. In like April of that year, so it'll be nice to get in a studio and actually do it kind of all together. Do you know what I mean? That's will be fun, and I just can't wait. I can't wait to get out there, do some festivals. Got Steelhouse Festival headlining this Friday, a couple of others, Firestorm in Manchester, Wayfest, and then the tour, which is 16 shows, trying to get everywhere, but as we know, the industry is still struggling, so if people could stop whinging that we're not coming to their back garden, that'd be
you can't get everywhere, it's impossible.
It's impossible, but it's not like we don't try. Like, obviously, it's in our incentive to play as many shows as possible, because that means we would make more money, right? But it doesn't always work like that, because promoters have lost so much money over the last couple of years. Venues are struggling. People just aren't taking the risks that they would have pre-pandemic. And people still aren't buying tickets until the last minute. So it's kind of across the board. It's a lose-lose at the minute. So please, if people do want to go and see the band, not just my band, I always say this, anyone that you love, go and see them. Go and see them. Go buy some merch, and tell these promoters that it's back, and that there's still the thirst for gigs is there.
You know, I think it's an important thing at the minute to go back to that. But yes, finally, a question I like to finish on for returning guests. Obviously, on the subject of albums as well. If there was a classic album that you could like go back to or be a part of in some kind of way, what would that classic album be, do you think?
I said this the other day in an American interview, and I still stick by it. I would have loved to have been in and around the sessions for David Coverdale's North Winds album, which is just, for anyone that hasn't heard it, is an absolute soul music masterpiece. Like, it's just unbelievable. Like, gospel choir, like everything on this album. It's stunning. Some of the most beautiful songs ever written. He's in his prime. Like, his voice sounds incredible, and had an amazing band on it. Yeah, Mickey Moody was on it. It was kind of like, it was almost like Whitesnake before it became Whitesnake. So it was his, in between that time of Purple and Whitesnake. It was the album, one of two albums he put out, I think. But this is it's an absolute banger, and I can just imagine. I would have loved to have sung backing vocals on that. That would be like a...
That would be the one that you go, all right, I'll do that.
I'd do anything for David. He's my hero. He's my absolute hero. And seeing them on that last tour, I'm so lucky. I saw them before they pulled it, but it was a proper spiritual moment, like saying goodbye to my favourite band of all time, you know.
Yeah.
Saying goodbye to them. It's just so... Thank goodness that we have CDs and vinyls and Spotify. So, because, yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough without them. They have been such a huge part of my life.
I know what you mean. It's strange when you get a band that have just been around for your entire life. Literally. Like with me, they've just always been there.
Yeah. I was born in 88, so 87 came out, and then I was born, you know? So, like, it's a weird... Yeah, it's weird. They have been there for my whole existence.
Well, I think that's a really solid choice. Thank you very much for joining me. And of course, if people want to go and check out the Inglorious tour, the link is in the description below. They'll be pretty much everywhere. so yeah. So
Northern Ireland. Yeah, except Northern Ireland. We put one Scotland date in and one Welsh date because everyone was going, it's not a UK tour. And it's still not fully a UK tour, but it is the best of what we can do right now in this economic climate. So come and see us. We're looking forward to seeing you there.
Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately, that name didn't fit on the tour poster, so you just went with
not quite a full UK tour.
Yeah, so we just went with the shortened version. So, well, thank you very much, Nathan.